two scholars will simply talk about what are the main thing about cultural theory once again, or how do they view cultural theory. That means Diana, let's see what is her opinion about discourse and cultural theory. Her conclusion is that through cultural theory, we study institutional nature of discourse. It means culture in itself is an institution. That's why the discourse produced by certain culture differ from another. So she has stressed another idea also, institutional nature of discourse and its situatedness in the society. That means, so according to this, you can guess yourself, discourse produced in particular society will be somehow unique in comparison to other. See the direct quote from your book: dialogue is the primary condition of discourse. All speech and writing is social. There are two things you can say: speech also and writing. For example, whatever we write in English in Nepal and whatever another person write in English in foreign context, these two will have differences. So she further says discourses differ within the kinds of institution and social practices in which they take shape, and with the position of those who speak and those whom they address also. So from this definition about discourse in cultural setting, it tells you lots of things, right? Institution one, context society another, addresser next, and addressee. These 4 points are here. In this way, culture helps to set different type of discourse according to its context. So this is the thing, her opinion, or your book says this is one model, right? So institution and social context, these two are blended here and nothing else according to her. There is next scholar also, Michel Foucault. This scholar has somehow elaborated the context. So in this writer's opinion, discourse as a particular area of language used may be identified by institution to which it relates and by the position from which it comes. It's somehow similar till up to here, and which it makes out for the speaker. So position does not exist by itself, however, indeed, it may be understood as a standpoint taken by the discourse through its relation to another, ultimately an opposing discourse. So here is one more idea. This writer has tried to correlate another group of people from another culture, or generally a discourse is produced in relation to another group. So ultimately you can see an opposing discourse in this sense. So further if you go, you can get idea. There are almost 5 to 6 points this writer has made. I have summarized this point over here. Look at here, point number 1, according to this writer, discourse does not occur in isolation, but in dialogue. I have highlighted this one, you can see. Dialogue means in relation to, or more often in contrast and opposing to the group of utterances. See, if we produce any text, always you think there should be another opponent group. So it is in the form of dialogue. This is the first point. For example, if you are feminist and when you produce discourse, you will produce discourse on the basis of discrimination, for example, on the basis of law, for example, on the basis of practice in a society, for example. That's why whatever we produce, it is always on the basis of opposing idea. You have already talked about criticality, right? Criticality means you can bring the idea of criticality over here. You have one idea in your mind to bring change in the existing condition. Why we are feminist, why we are environmentalist? Our intention is to improve the existing situation. That's why we became critical about the existing practices, existing laws, and so on. Did you get my point, whatever I made here? Hello? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you get the point I made over here? Discourse is the resultant or result of existing situation. So we never produce anything independently. It's a reaction. So you can see, do not occur in isolation. But in dialogue means it doesn't mean you need to have conversation person to person with person. That means you keep something in your mind and you become reactive, right? And sometimes we can be proactive also. But according to this writer, discourse has reactive nature. Reactive nature means, as I said, if somebody is environmentalist, then what he or she produces, you know that we need to protect Earth in this way. The existing law is not enough, right? Okay. That is the thing, right? So you need to remember this is point number 1 according to this author, right? Next one, look at number 2 according to Peshu. Discourse to be primarily organized around practices of exclusion, right? This is somehow related. Please listen me carefully. This is somehow complex idea for you because we are using theory. This point says discourse to be principally organized around practices of exclusion. Always when, for example, when father and son talks to each other, they talk to each other. Father always shows somehow dominant nature, try to exclude. And moreover, if you can take another example, in our country, for example, your book also gives the same example. We hardly talk about menstruation. We hardly listen or want to inform others about reproductive health because of cultural barrier, right? We know that the process of childbearing, process of childbirth, right? Why we are excluding these type of discourse? Because discourse is principally organized around the practices of exclusion. It excludes something. It produces truth. We'll talk about truth later. We cannot speak this. It is not moral also. It doesn't support the value, existing value norms of our society. This is point number 2. Did you get the idea? Do you have any question here? Hello? I think today we have less number. And you are not responding me because of this also. Are you listening?
Yes, sir. We are listening you.
Did you get this idea, whatever I made here? Exclusion means
Yes,
dominant.
sir.
What is dominant idea in the society? That is preferred, right? As I said, we never talk about sexual activity, even menstruation, for example. And if child asks, how was I born? Then we hardly respond to the child because that is against our cultural value and cultural norms, right? And look at this, you know that always why females are considered an object in the literature, you know that. Who is the producer? Male. Male are producer. Most of the writers are male. And you can see why the marginalized group are not respected in the literature, in the text, because only the upper class people, well-off people, they are involved in producing literary texts. And mostly the same thing happening in society. The upper class people produces discourse, and they do not include the discourse of minority. That's why you can say discourse is principally organized around the practices of exclusion, not inclusion, right? There is higher types of language and lower types of language. Means higher class language, standard language, and non-standard variety of language. But actually, in general, we can say this is grammatically correct or official or standard language, and another is the contrary, right? So this is number 2. You remember. Next one is, it's a very important thing, right? Listen me carefully. If you have question, please don't hesitate about this point. Okay, statement. The most fundamental building blocks of discourse are those utterances or part of text which have an effect. And to be a discourse, it must have an effect. Remember this. I am speaking right now. You are listening. You consider I'm a teacher, you're a teacher. I know something more than you. That's why you are listening. So my discourse has effect on you. You think you need to listen me, right? Moreover, if you take example of the priest in course of marriage ceremony, now you are husband and wife, finished. That priest has power, for example. If you talk about the context in court setting, when a judge says, I sentence you to 3 years imprisonment, means is a final. For example, our president Vidya Devi Bhandari, she dissolved House of Representative. Finished. Again, Chief Justice Chalendra Shamsher, right? He verdicted to restore the parliament, and right now parliament is functioning. See, it means when we produce certain discourse, there must be effect. Did you get the idea I'm saying here? This is third point according to Peshu, and it's very important, right? Without effect, discourse has no value, right? Do you have any misunderstanding here? Anybody? Please note down the point I'm making here. So, without effect, that particular production, utterances or sentences has no value in discourse. There must be effect. Third point. Fourth point, this writer stresses on conflictual nature of discourse. Conflictual means ideological struggle. Maybe we agree to disagree. Are you listening me? Agree to disagree means always we can have some sort of philosophy in our mind and somebody else can have another type of philosophy in their mind. Right? That's why एक मिनट है I'm doing something else. Okay, I am back here. Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
So next, whole number point is discourse is conflicting in nature because of ideological struggle, right, among the convergent, right? Ideology, as I said, maybe it is cultural ideas. Commonly, it addresses cultural ideology, but ideology can be of different types, right? We can have one ideology and another person have another ideology on that basis. For example, feminist, for example, communism, for example, postmodernism. We can have different types of ideology. On that basis, we form discourse. So discourse is the output of conflict among the or between the ideologies, right? This is number 4. And point number 5, it says about the axis. Okay, please read this 5 more points and tell me something about this. Okay, what is written there? Please try to on.
सरको आवाज आएको छैन त मेरोमा
हैन सरले यो पढ्न लगाउनु भएको छ के एकचोटि त्यो पढ्नु रे के स्क्रिनको
Did you get the idea? What does it mean?
Yes sir, can I say something sir?
Yes, please.
So I think that only those people who can people who have position or have class only their opinions is respected. An example is that those people who can publish journal article and who can go through the governing structure, only their article will be published like that. I only understood those things,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Anybody else? Does anybody have any other opinion about this? Anyone? Okay. You got the thing, whatever is written over here. As I gave you example, for example, in our religious or holy books, we can only find female as an object, as an good, as a commodity. Why is it so? As I said, producers are male. This is one question. Next one is, nowadays it is said that each and everybody is equal. For example, we are talking about male and female equality. That is not possible in common sense, because in the huge body of knowledge, poor people, marginalized people, they don't have access or they don't have competency also. That's why in the huge body of discourse, marginalized people, or you can say lower class people, or you can say deprived people, they don't have access to this. So discourse is sole production of upper class people, right? And those who produce this one, right? So this is the point number 5. So discourse only addresses, only incorporates what? The ideas of privileged group. That means, according to this writer. And last one, discourses structure both our sense of reality and notion of our identity. Remember this? Discourse structure means forms our sense of identity, who we are. For example, When we say we are Newar, for example, we are Brahmin, for example, we are Nepali, for example, right? Especially Newar and Brahmins. What do you think? You have a type of feeling. Or if you belong to Kathmandu Valley, there's another sense of reality. So discourse structure both our sense of reality and our notion of our own identity, right? Because of that reality, you have identity. You feel privileged to be the resident of Kathmandu, Lalitpur, etc. This is example only, right? So whatever, for example, if you belong to Brahmin community, you have different types of reality in your mind. It is formed by, structured by society. Remember this, right? Your discourse you got in that particular context. And then you say you are proud of your identity. Who are you, right? Did you get my point here? To belong to Kathmandu, Nepal, and to be brave Gorkhali as an identity. This is the output of discourse. But you know that we Nepalese are not known by American, for example. Even most of the American, they don't know where Nepal is. And may they doubt whether there is Nepal or not. Many more American, they believe. But we have that reality in our mind. We belong to Nepal, we are brave peoples, and we think we have the identity of that braveness. So this thing is endowed in our discourse. And it is formed by different types of media also, for example, different types of other social and cultural organizations, for example. For example, you know that our media, they always play that sort of patriotic song because they want to create that reality in the mind of commoner. We need to love our country, we need to protect our country, we need to sacrifice our life for the country. That is the reality created by institution. It can be media, it can be any cultural organization, cultural group, and so on, right? Did you get the idea? The last point here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So commonly, here's a summary. Peshu, in particular, discourse do not exist in isolation, but are object and site of struggle. Struggle also. We negotiate our discourse. To be Brahmins, right, you need to negotiate against Newar, for example, Rai, Limbu, and so on. And so is the case with other. So discourse are not fixed also. It keeps on changing on the basis of struggle, right? These are the 6 point made by Pilsu. It is also dominant, but your book has given this section in the introductory part because we are not going to talk about this writer in detail, right? So name is also not mentioned. And now onward, we are going to talk about Michel Foucault. Always we have to take him in consideration. So today I will only talk about Michel Foucault and his concept of discourse. If you have a question, please you can raise a question right now. If not, I'm going to start.
Sorry,
Yes, please.
here is one Fuchs. These all statements are said by Foucault or Fuchs.
Sorry?
These are the statement of the writer or sorry, the Fuchs or Foucault.
Which one? Where is that? I couldn't get you. What do you mean?
Which are saying right now, which are in the screen now.
6 number point.
Yes, sir.
Discourse structure both our sense of reality and our notion of identity. This mean?
Yes, these all are the statement of the writer.
Yes. This is the statement of Michel Peshu, right? This writer's opinion about cultural theory, culture and discourse, right?
Okay, sir.
It is exactly there in your book also. I have taken this from your book, Sarah Mills. You can find, if you go through that, you can find elaboration there. I have only picked up points and made points. The points are not given there. I have taken the theme and I have made point myself, right? These things are there. Don't worry, if you go through the book, it is exactly there in your book also, right? Go through that again and read the explanation there. And if you find confusion, any obstacles to understand, we will again discuss that later. Okay, let's just start without delay. Next one. Next is, it is very important to understand the concept of discourse. Michel Foucault and his concept of discourse. And earlier also we talk about him. Today we try to consolidate his idea about what is discourse. Okay, here are some idea MacDonald made and Foucault himself. So Foucault says, what I have said is not what I think. Okay, listen carefully and contemplate over this saying. What I have said is not what I think, but often what I wonder whether it could be heard. Right? Just shut down the door. Okay? Did you get what does this mean? What I have said is not what I think, but often what I wonder whether it could be thought. Okay, leave it. If you haven't understood, doesn't matter. So for Foucault, Michel Foucault, discourse is not a group of signs or a stretch of text. See, whatever we produce or whatever we write, simply that for him. But the practices that systematically from the object of which they speak. So, discourses, practices that systematically form the object of which they speak. It comes because of, or it is produced because of system of production in our culture. So Foucault is also a cultural theorist in this sense. See, practices, because of practices in our society, in our family, right? We produce that. This is a basic concept. And moreover, you can see, again, I'll come to the point, right? Don't worry. So discourse structure can be detected because of the simplicity of ideas, opinion, concept, ways of thinking and behaving. It is somehow very close to the point we are going to make. Discursive structure means systematicity of idea. Mind, opinion, concept, ways of thinking and behaving within a particular context. It means cultural context. We form our ideas, we form our opinions, we form our concept or way of thinking, way of behaving because of our social setting, cultural setting. And that is what Foucault says discourse. Right? Again, we'll consolidate this idea. This means discourse has three elements. And these three ideas are truth. But remember this, these ideas are not straightforward. They are interconnected and they are somehow deeper in meaning. Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
If you have questions, please don't hesitate. Okay. Discourse means is not plain production of idea. Discourse
Sir, could you please repeat
should
that
contain
again?
knowledge also.
Discourse
Sorry?
mean the Could you please repeat that again, which you
No
said
plain
recently?
production of utterances, right? See this one. When you say discourse, whatever you write and whatever you speak, right? These things are not discourse. To be a discourse, these three things are necessary. It should have truth, power also, and knowledge also, right? According to Michel Foucault, right? Whenever you are asked to talk about, to write about Michel Foucault, you should not forget these three ideas, right? We will talk about this.
Sir, but it can be changed according to the situation and the struggle of doing something else also, no, sir?
Yeah, it's dynamic nature.
Uh,
We will see this one. Power means that conflicting in nature, right? Power means, for example, who will be powerful is determined by the struggle, right? Okay. See, what is truth for Foucault? Truth for Foucault is not something intrinsic to an utterance, nor is it an ideal abstract quality to which humans aspire. It is truth as being something far more worldly than more negative. It means, see the exact word of Foucault here. Truth is of the world. It is produced there by virtue of multiple constraints. See here, for example, to be a teacher, I have multiple constraints. To be a daughter, for example, for you, son, for example, for you, right? You have multiple constraints. Limitation, that means. Each society has regime of truth. For example, Newar society and Brahmin society, society of Kathmandu, right? It's general politics of truth. It's general politics of truth, that is the type of discourse it harvests and causes to function as true, right? Whatever is true in the city areas, in Kathmandu Valley, is not true in Rukum and Rolpa or elsewhere. It's my example, okay? See, let's go on. The mechanism and instances which enable one to distinguish true from false statements. The way in which each is sanctioned. See here, truth is also sanctioned. And the techniques and the procedure which are valorized for obtaining truth. For example, we have certain technique, we have procedure to tell truth. It has procedure. The status of those who are charged with saying what counts as true, right? In the society, there are people, certain group of people, for example, your grandparents, your parents, your teacher, senior, head of the village, head of the cultural group. They say something is true, something is moral. That means something is good. So, through constant negotiation, through certain procedure, and using the politics within the family, also there is politics, you know that. Within the cultural group also there is politics, for example. So, in this way, truth in particular society is constructed. For example, Brahmin people, they should not touch pig. Who said this? Right? At the times of menstruation, the girls should not involve in worshipping the god. Who made this? There are untouchable people. Even the animal can get into their house, but human being cannot. Who made this? And is it the output of short time? No. For long time, people made mechanism to construct truth. And through negotiation, you can see right now, we discriminate people, but the discrimination just before 50 years or 10 years or 5 years is not same as right now. So truth has changed. It means our intention over here is how truth is constructed. Truth is man-made. Truth is made by culture, made by society, made by the people who are there. This is what Michel Foucault calls truth. You got this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know that it's a very simple idea. I'm not going to explain this. This is the same thing I have made over here. Okay, what is power then? According to Foucault, see the traditional form of power. Number one, Foucault says possession is not power. It means taking power from another group of politicians, for example. It's not a power. Or violation of someone's right, that's also not power. If you violate somebody's right, it's also not power. And Marxists, they believe power means it is determined by possession, material possession, or economy. Power is not determined by economy. This means for this, Foucault has coined one phrase, that is repressive hypothesis. Look at here, there. I have written there, over here. Repressive hypothesis. Let me underline if you haven't seen. Here it is. Power, to represent power, to define power. Foucault has introduced this phrase. So Foucault says power is simply about preventing someone from carrying out their wishes and limiting people's freedom within cultural setting. Okay, remember this, in cultural setting. So for this, Foucault says it is repressive hypothesis. Power is simply about preventing someone, for example, in your society, for example, in your culture, in your house. If you go back to the psychoanalysis, we have unlimited wish and desire. Our society prevent that from doing, right? And we don't have that freedom. For example, being a teacher and students, we have limitation. Being father and daughter, father and son, and member of society, being Newar, being Brahmins also, Kshetri, Magar, etc. There are so many limitations. But our society limits us to go beyond that practices. That's why power is not the thing I mentioned here. Three things: not possession, not the violation of somebody's right, not possession of material. Instead, power is simply about preventing someone from carrying out our wishes and limiting people's freedom. So power is dispersed throughout social relation. For example, mother has certain power, daughter has also power, son has also power. For example, Mukhiya or Zamindar, they have also power. That the head of that cultural group also has power. Everywhere, in each and every strata, power is dispersed. Right? They have certain power. That is produces possible form of behavior. Daughter has a sort of behavior, father has a sort of behavior, son has another type of behavior, right? They produce also, and they do not also, because norms and value restrict us. So, for Foucault, power is dispersed throughout social relation. Social relation, remember this word, social relation, right? Not elsewhere. On that basis, you can analyze, you can interpret certain discourse. Are you clear about this?
It means who has got the freedom to express their desire. It means power.
Yes, you have powers. To a certain extent, we have power assigned by society. For example, we generally consider our daughter as a Lakshmi, right? And we pray her also on certain occasions. That's also power. But daughter has also restriction. She is not able to do whatever she wishes. It is this power of freedom also is given by society to some extent, and power, that limitation, restriction is also assigned by society. To certain extents, she can enjoy that, but she need to be within the limitation here. Am I right? Are you clear now? Every member has power in society, but limitation also. There are two sides of a coin. You can exercise your power to certain extent, but you are limited also. You are not free to be a member. If you go beyond the social limitation, you can do anything, whatever you like. But to be a member of society, you need to follow certain rule and regulation of that society, norms and value of society. That means you can enjoy it to certain extent. Not only enjoy, you are restricted also. That is what we call power. So power is everywhere in this sense. I have said you that what daughter can do, what son can do, for example, what mother can do. Mother has also power, right? Father, grandparents, and so on, right? This is what we call power. And the last one is knowledge. And Foucault says knowledge and power, they are related. And knowledge and power, these two are related in the sense that knowledge, all of the knowledge we have is the result, effect of power. The power struggle. Did you get me? What I said? When, for example, daughter, for example, son or mother, they exercise their power in the family, and to some extent, there is struggle also, power struggle also. They want to go beyond that. Nowadays, you can see children are more powerful. Wives are also powerful nowadays because of a struggle. And this is true right now. Whatever was true 5 years, 10 years ago, this is not true right now. And that is a form of knowledge. You need to know do's and don'ts of that particular society. And these do's and don'ts have power. Sorry, knowledge. Because of power, you can change knowledge also. After 6, daughter cannot go out from the family. It was true in the past. And now, the society had changed because of globalization. What happened? Daughters struggle. Daughters and sons are equal. Now we are also free to go out and hunt the job and work for our betterment. Right? So, these are different knowledge now. Knowledge means ideas, information, in this sense, prevalent in the society. So see, Foucault's word, the individual is not to be conceived of as a sort of elementary nucleus on which power comes to fasten. It means power should be negotiated also. And that negotiation becomes new form of knowledge. It means it doesn't assign automatically. In fact, it is already one of the prime effect of power that certain bodies, certain gestures, certain discourse, certain desires come to be identified and considered as an individual. For example, nowadays love marriage, right? Intercaste marriage, it is accepted by society to some extent, not fully. The knowledge had changed because in the past, even parents used to decide what a son or a daughter will study. But right now, it's not the case. The power is taken away by children. If I want to pursue engineering, medicine, for example, computer science, for example, I'm free. It's my desire. So this power sharing forms new body of knowledge. So discourse should have this feature. Truth, what is truth? What is power? And what is knowledge? Truth can be changed. Look at the relationship between truth, power, and knowledge. Knowledge is final element. Why? Truth is changeable because of power. So if a person reveals these three elements in the form of utterances or in the form of text, then that is discourse. So these are necessary things that need to be integrated in our discourse according to Michael Foucault. Do you have any question? Any problem? Anything?
In the case of
Sorry?
I'm not clear a little bit about in the case of knowledge.
Knowledge is do's and don'ts kinds of thing prevalent in society. As I said, norms and value. To be a member, it is cultural theory. Okay, remember this. It is a cultural theory. Talks about culture, and society has certain truth and certain falses as well. And if you have that idea, that is called knowledge. Did you get me? For example, you are a daughter, for example, right? Society has set certain limitation on you, and society has given certain power to you as well.
Sorry, excuse me, sir. Then what is the difference between truth and knowledge?
When knowledge is accepted, that is truth. Through power struggle. Did you get me? Accepted knowledge in the society, right? Accepted knowledge in the society because of power struggle, right? When you know the information of society, that is the cover term. Knowledge is cover term here, right? Knowledge is cover term over here. You need to know everything. For example, you know knowledge and wisdom also, right? Knowledge means what? You need to have all the do's and don'ts also. And truth is different thing. Limited. Truth means what is true only is enough. That is the thing. As you can see the definition, individual is not to be conceived of as a sort of elementary nucleus on which power comes to fasten. How do you get power? So your powers and knowledge, they go side by side. You can change knowledge, but you cannot change truth for him. And knowledge is obtained through power relation. But truth is existing situation. That is different in this sense. So knowledge is one step ahead than truth in this sense. Okay, I think you have another class also. Do you have another class?
No, sir.
No,
It is for last class.
Okay. If you have any
No, sir,
questions,
over, sir. You have this is the last class, sir.
okay, if you have any question about this, you can bring next week also. I think I have made some sort of explanation I have done. I think that is comprehensible. If you
Very
haven't
nice, sir.
understood,
Thank you so much, sir. No question, sir.
you can have lots of things after this, okay? sorry, you have lots of information in your text also, same text, right? That's why I'll
Yes,
continue
sir.
the remaining point in our next class. Okay.
Okay,
Please,
sir.
continue.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.